and welcome to the Large and Unnecessary First Player Token podcast. My name is David and I'll be your compere for this evening. Tonight's episode is brought to you from the salubrious surroundings of Golden Acre Hills, and I think you'll agree there is not a better place from which to record a podcast. If you hear the odd siren in the background, pay them no mind, we never do. Now, I'm afraid... bit of disappointing news to start the show with. I know we had said that we were going to have on tonight's show a guest speaker, Mr. Hideo Kojima. Unfortunately, he has been unable to make it. He's pulled out at the last minute. He says he's trapped in a cardboard box in the center of the Shibuya crossing and he just cannot get away. And further bad news, our backup guest, Sid Meier, also sends his apologies. However, do not be perturbed. We have a couple of excellent, glorious guests who've joined us this evening, flown in specially for the show, and I think you're going to enjoy their presence immensely. We have preeminent Edinburgh beard, Mr. Euan Glasgow. Say hello to the audience, Euan.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, great to be here. Great to be here.
It's wonderful to have you. It's a real pleasure.
Nice of you to finally have me on.
I know.
I know my agent's been ringing you constantly.
I know, he's a dick.
About this.
And it's not just Mr. Glasgow. We are truly, truly honoured to have the Deputy Ambassador for Poland, Mr. Pawel Daruk. It's a great honour to meet you, sir.
Is there more cake? I've been promised more cake.
We can certainly provide that for you. Is there any particular cake you would like?
Just more of the same, please. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll have one of the gophers go and grab that for you.
Oh, yes.
So how are we, gentlemen?
Oh, all caked up, honestly, yes. This was an excellent start of the evening. I think we can definitely ask for more cake in the future as well. This is a fantastic place for some good cake up.
Isn't it glorious?
It's a leisurely kind of show with it's a homely vibe to what we've got going on. I mean, we've got Azul, and there's some baking equipment lying around.
Yeah, we flew that in specially for you. I knew you would appreciate
it's
that.
Nice,
yeah. So how about those Kardashians? Yeah.
I'm sure that we've agreed that this will not ever be a podcast topic, along with soccer and possibly other football-related themes.
Well, I just wonder what they make of Carcassonne, really.
It's a good question. Huh? We should perhaps we'll see if we can book them. I'll speak to them.
Oh yeah, Hal, you could tweet them.
It would probably be easier than booking Hideo.
We know that you're quite well known in the Twitter world. I've garnered a few likes and retweets.
I do send an occasional tweet, yes.
Yeah. Maybe you could get on to the Kardashians and say, listen, come on, give us your review of Carcassonne. Carcassonne!
You know what? Maybe we should.
Mr. Pawel?
Hello!
I believe where are you going to start us off with?
Well, if I'm given the choice between Kardashians and Anthem, I might as well talk about Anthem, if that's okay.
Whichever you think will touch the beating heart of the youth of today. Grasp it.
Well, let's give it a try. Let's not try to compare the two. I'm sure there's similarities. In fact, if we tried hard, there would probably be quite a lot of similarities between the Kardashians and Anthem. So, Anthem is a third-person science fiction shooty game that I suppose will draw quite heavily. If you try to compare it, it will draw from your experiences in various Destiny clones, Warframe, or possibly if you're being very... I'd like to say that because BioWare made it, it should resemble Mass Effect games in some way, but it does not in the slightest, not ever. And this possibly is one of so many problems with Anthem, because BioWare made it, everybody has a lot of expectations and a lot of grief ready as soon as those are not met, and certainly my expectations have been ground to dust during the early beta stages when I got to play it several times, and oh my goodness, was that a frustrating experience. And not because of what most players have experienced, which was various glitches, disconnects, and other technical issues. As far as that goes, I was actually having a fairly seamless experience from the technical point of view. But as I played through those good, say, 5, maybe closer to 10 hours of the alpha and the beta experiences, and then cancelled my pre-order promptly, I got to see what Anthem was designed to be, and I've really just realized that it's not for me.
What is Anthem designed to be?
Anthem is primarily designed to be a game for teams, as in not for myself, because I play games solo.
You're a solo player.
If I were offered to play a game with you guys, I would check my schedule and see if I can fit you in, but most of that schedule is taken by solo gaming, really. And
play Command and Conquer against the bot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And there's a number of reasons why a solo player will not really enjoy Anthem, even though they will probably try. And to be fair, this was my experience in Andromeda, even though Mass Effect Andromeda was a solo experience. Obviously, it does have a multiplayer component, however, this plays is another matter. But in its heart, Mass Effect Andromeda was a solo experience, and I still, after attempting to like it for 15 hours or 20 hours, I've realized that I actually should probably stop trying. Whereas in here, I'm at least proud of myself that I've decided not to like it early on.
So Anthem, in a way, I suppose, is you're saying is a kind of game that is unappreciated by the masses because it's too good for them, really. much like Mass Effect Andromeda.
No. Let's not trigger me on Andromeda, please. Thank you very much. To be fair, there would be many more similarities between Anthem and Destiny in the way that it's supposed to be a solo match. A team matching experience for yourself. If you're not playing with friends, then you're gonna get teamed up with a bunch of strangers in various areas of the world where you're just shooting whatever aliens shoot at you. And the only difference would probably here be simply that Destiny is first-person perspective and Anthem is third-person perspective. Other than that, there would be further differences in the way you customize your character, but it's not that big a deal, really. If you consider that in Destiny you have to really experience and progress your class separately from other classes. So if you want to switch your class, you have to essentially start your career from scratch, whereas in Anthem you sort of go through the game, and as you do it you can change your these mech sort of mechanical suits called javelins, which means I suppose it's just a different dynamic, but it's a third-person perspective shooter, and I do like a good third-person perspective. That's why I've always liked Mass Effect games, yeah. And it would be really cool if not for a really large number of annoying details that just bugger up your experience. When you first start to play it, and you get this accelerating, feeling of being an Iron Man flying through this jungle full of waterfalls and foliage, and it's all very pretty, like really pretty. And my PlayStation was I'm not going to say overheating, but the noise it was making was a bit disconcerting. And it's all nice until you get your first loading screen, and by the time you've played through the first, I'm gonna say 2 hours, you've seen enough really like surprisingly long loading screens to want to blow your brains out. And I'm normally quite patient with these things, and Destiny possibly has taught me a certain dynamics where when you're free roaming in a world, it's just that nothing's gonna get in your way, If you decide to, in Destiny, to return to orbit, you do so and you accept the consequence of a animated, fairly short loading screen. If you go back to your social hub because you choose so, you get a loading screen as well. Those are your choices as a player. What Anthem does is it shows loading screens to you just when you don't really expect this at all. You don't pick your missions. You just fly through this wonderful world, not knowing at all what to do because it's a new game. So you're just exploring around, and as you fly through just about any opening in this very three-dimensional, very vertical world, with all sorts of pipes, all sorts of ancient ruins, valleys, you name it. You fly through various openings and you get your loading screens because the game's decided for you, I suppose. The game presumed because of your actions, you probably wanting to start some sort of mission, and suddenly it attempts to do some sort of team matching, and suddenly you get your minute or 2 minutes worth of loading screen, and then you get to explore the world some more. It's
with some people.
Yeah, exactly, and there's people around you suddenly, and you have to go through whatever mission alongside them. Most of these missions are essentially the same thing, as in you get a little bit of a narrative in the form of radio chatter. You collect a few bits, you either assault or you defend an area, and then you move on to some form of semi-boss. Now, if you're a solo player, all those mini bosses that you encounter will annoy the living hell out of you, because this is the moment when the developers of Anthem essentially tell you, do not play our game solo, go away, you don't want to do it, why are you even here? For the sake of you, dear solo player, we have given all our mini bosses shields in front so that your teammate has to flank those mini bosses. You can try if you like, and you can defeat the enemies in this game when you're a solo player. You just see that the way this has been designed from the moment of conception to whatever you get to actually experience is not meant for a solo player. Further than that, this is a game about flying. You fly around, which is good fun. I'm wondering how long that will last, but at the beginning it's really good fun. But only if you're flying solo. As soon as you're in a group, and quite often, to be fair, to experience this game, you have to be in a group, whether it's with your friends or with strangers. So as soon as you're in the group, the first player triggers the first player flying in whatever formation, and it's never going to be a formation. You're in a group, and somebody else out there is flying and is, I don't know, half a world further than you are. So they're triggering all the radio chatter, they trigger all the, I suppose, animations or whatever else. And most frustratingly, they also trigger a lovely message on your screen that essentially tells you you're in the wrong zone, get where you're supposed to be, or if not, then you're just gonna get another loading screen shoved in your face, which happens so often, because the game is always trying to put you where the first player of the group is, or whoever's advancing the story. And there's a number of such minor things, but they all contribute to, I don't know, it's just, I'm not even going to say it's a missed opportunity, because we all knew that it was going to really be a multiplayer thing. So as far as possible from any remnants of what Mass Effect used to be. And even though there's some interesting world building bits out there, you don't really get to experience them, because most of the lore you get to experience is in a text form in your codex. You have to go to your whatever options and read up. There isn't a lot of it, but if you're interested at all, you actually have to you have to go to your whatever settings screen rather than speak with characters. And the only times when you get to maybe have some actual conversations are in the hub area called Fort Tarsis, which is where the game suddenly becomes first-person perspective rather than third-person perspective for whatever bizarre reason, and it's just an experience you really don't want to last too long. You're just walking around, and as soon as you can get back into your suit and fly out, the better, I suppose.
So I'm getting the general impression that there's not enough RPG, not enough.
This is not an RPG game. This is not a Mass Effect game. It's much closer to Destiny in this regard. There's no branching dialogues, or if there are, sometimes you get to sort of make a choice between two options, but there's no consequence of that choice whatsoever. There's no romance options, which used to be a staple of BioWare games. So because of that, you don't really develop any sort of relationship with the NPCs you get to interact with, and when the narrative presents you with what's supposed to be dramatic occurrences, you don't really care for them that much because you've not invested yourself in this world just yet. And granted, my experience now and my point of view might be biased because I've just not managed to learn to like the game, but it took me actually quite a while to get into first Mass Effect, so I like to think that I had enough patience with Anthem after those 10 hours.
It's interesting that.
Oh no!
Is that timing? I just wanted to point out, I pretty much immediately fell in love with Mass Effect Andromeda, which I think that's interesting.
We will not be triggering my old wounds here. My goodness.
Oh no, that sound was. We've received a tweet from one of our listeners. It's Alan from High Valleyfield, and he'd like to know, Pawel, how does Anthem compare to The Division?
Oh, okay. This is actually an interesting question. Thank you very much, Alan. The Division is in many ways what Destiny attempted to do slightly differently. So yes, it's the same type of the game, I suppose, a multiplayer thingy, but The Division is a Tom Clancy game. It will attempt to be tactical. It will attempt to be very sort of invested in all these minutiae technical aspects of, I suppose, firefight situations, whereas Anthem is very over the top, bombastic, let's use special skills and send 100 rockets into alien monsters. So the only times when I could think there are similarities between the Division and Anthem are when you're opening your sort of loot engram sort of things. Engram is a word from Destiny, but what I mean is that I think the loot system in Division is maybe a bit similar to the way Anthem attempted to do it. Other than that, if you know what, Division to me is essentially just Dark Zone. I mean, you get your storyline, which is great. That's what I played in Division. And as soon as I finished storyline, I went to Dark Zone, got killed by organized groups about 5 times, and decided that the Dark Zone is not for me. Although I'm hoping for Division 2 to maybe handle this slightly better. There's no Dark Zone as such, no PvP elements whatsoever at the moment in Anthem. Whether that's going to change or not is another matter. They're completely different games when it comes, obviously, to setting as such. And to the general feel, in Division, you're essentially just running through, obviously, snowy streets in New York. In Division 2, it's going to be a slightly more varied environments. Whereas in Anthem, and that's possibly one of the main reasons to pick up the game, you're very dynamic. You run around, you jump high, you fly around, you hover. So it's a very vertical game. It's all about flying and about your mechanical suit overheating, and you're plunging from the air and crushing on ground because we can't have the good stuff all the time. The game constantly keeps reminding you that you should probably stop having fun when you scarcely do.
Is there any Battle Royale mode?
Are we allowed to say Battle Royale here? Because I thought that this is one of those soccer words that I just don't approve of.
I think you can get sued for saying that you're running a Battle Royale. But
I would like to remark that my allergies are now over the limit. It's like you took a cat and you just sort of just took a cat and rubbed it in my face. I'm beginning to swell now.
Any zombies?
It's better. Zombies are much better than any battle royale shite. Well, generic enemies, mutated animals, and various aliens that want to destroy humankind because humankind needs a kick in the butt. So I've not seen zombies yet as such. So there's that. Ooh. Engage.
That's another tweet we've just got in. It's for you again, Pawel. Karen from Lochgelly would like to know, could you maybe sing us a little bit of the Polish national anthem?
Okay, yes, no. As much as I'd like to, I should probably not, because my general feeling for all national anthems and by extension to the concept of patriotism are rather negative. If you ask me whether I consider borders important, I would say no. They should not be present on what's essentially a globe. So singing a song.
Is that a no, Pawel?
I'm just beginning to elaborate on my no. My goodness.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that, Deputy Ambassador.
I was just beginning to rant about anthems, but maybe I'll stop now.
Yes, I think that's probably for the best. So, Euan, you've been returning to something we've talked about on this podcast before.
A couple of times, I think.
But a welcome return.
Yeah, well, it's the only game I really play.
Indeed.
It's called Streets of Rogue, and it hasn't caught on the way I thought. I'd like to see everybody playing Streets of Rogue because it's brilliant. Yeah, I just hadn't played it for quite a while, and I thought I'd give it a update because I popped back in, and it's on Alpha 70 at this point, so there's been a lot of...
Is it still early access?
Yeah, it's 11:55. I mean, it's basically a working game. It's probably less buggy than other games sitting in Alpha, because it's just all, quite endearing pixel art.
Is it going to be one of these games that's just in early access forever, do you think?
I think that's the plan with it. It just seems to keep adding things to it. But, I'm happy with it. There's been a lot of little tweaks just to kind of even out some of the issues with some of the characters. Some of them seem to be a bit overpowered. It's also added in a couple of new characters. There's 3 new characters you can unlock. There's a firefighter, the werewolf, and the zombie. Zombies, of course. Yeah, well, there you go, Pawel, you're happy. Zombies actually make a bit more of an appearance in this because the basic setup for Streets of Rogue, it's a top-down kind of pixelated, retro-looking. It's a roguelike kind of sort of versatile. I don't really know how to describe the gameplay because essentially you go into you're working your way through the city, and each level that you go into, you have various quests you have to carry out, and before you can move on to the next level. Those quests you can deal them in different ways. You can go in all guns blazing, just kill people, take what you need. You can get other people to do your dirty work for you. You can sort of steal from people. You can use various tricks, items that you've found to do different tactics. As you continue through the levels, you'll get different kind of zones that you go to. You start off in the slums. You then at the end of each sort of usually get 3 levels, and the third one you usually get a disaster. He's added in new disasters, which make the game really interesting. Some of the ones that he's added in.
Can you elaborate on that?
Sorry. Well, the disasters. So you'll get into the floor, and it'll tell you at the start. It'll say disaster, and then it'll tell you what it is. So there can be a number of different things. So it's the reason I was bringing up zombies is it's like a zombie outbreak can be one of them.
All right.
And basically you'll have a certain number of zombies planted around the level. They'll start attacking people. Anyone who's attacked by a zombie will resurrect as a zombie once they die.
Yep.
So you can just have this epidemic going on. That one's usually quite good if you're going to more of a fighty character, because you'll get more experience for killing people, killing zombies. Maybe not so good if you're a weaker sort of stealth-based character, because you're just going to get seen wherever you go and you're going to get attacked. But one of the things he's done is actually added in, so you have labs around the place. Usually the running theme was that you'd have a couple of scientists and they would have a gorilla in a cage, and sometimes the quest was to release the gorilla. Sometimes it was just a part of the level that was just there as an extraneous thing you could do if you wanted. He's now added zombies in, so you can release zombies on levels where there aren't already, like,
save zombies from the clutches of evil scientists.
So you can actually cause your own zombie outbreaks. I've spent a lot of time kind of like releasing them and then deliberately sort of getting them to chase me around and go and attack other people and things like that, and cause a zombie outbreak. But yeah, there's like some of the new disasters that we added are quite interesting. You can go into a war zone. Basically, you turn up and there's a war going on between just like soldiers. They use so everything. There's characters that you can go throughout the game. There's tons of them. As again, I added like the zombie, the werewolf, and everything there. But there's all the various things. Your bartender, your shopkeeper. They're all classes you can play as well as characters that'll turn up throughout the game. So yeah,
what's the special skill of a bartender class?
Well, the bartender,
like
you'll get
the ability to listen.
A lot of the merchant kind of classes are based around getting sort of discounts in shops and things like that, or being able to sell stuff, or having sort of money from the start of the game. There is the one class that I've been meaning to go actually and haven't had a shot at yet. Is there's like the investment banker, because I think that'd be an interest, because you start with a certain amount of money. Basically, it's all about accumulating money, and when I've played it a lot, just to kind of rattle through levels, I'll go as the soldier, and you just you start off with a machine gun, which is a weapon that hasn't actually appeared in any levels independently of that I've seen so far, so it must be quite powerful. And you just go around killing everybody, it just obliterate everybody in the level. But then you can play strange. Well, you can play differently. You can go if you go to thief, you'll have certain items, like lockpicks, safe busters, things like that. So if you need to steal things, you'll get, there's a wall bypasser you can get. And you'll start with a few of them if you're a thief, and you can literally just walk through a wall,
portable wall. Okay.
And things like that. So you're not going to get experience for killing people, but you are going to get experience for when you complete quests. You're not alerting people, not killing people, things like that. So you get experience based on all sorts of different things, and you can kind of tailor your approach to that.
Yeah.
Another thing with the experience is when you level up at the end of the level, you'll get to choose a skill. Now, it was kind of arbitrary before. It's added in certain things, like, so you'll have there are stats sort of attributed to your character which you don't really get to affect directly, but there are certain skills that will appear when you level up at certain points that will let you increase those stats, which wasn't something that was a feature of the game before. So you can get your damage increased, or your health increased, or your speed increased, which is something I've not really bothered with, because that just causes all sorts of bother. Just running about the place. It's yeah. I mean, you can chase people down if you're trying not to use bullets and you want to attack them with melee weapons, because a lot of people do run away from you when you start really laying into them with an axe.
I suppose they should.
Yeah. But yeah, the investment banker, I was saying, could be quite interesting, where you just paying your way through the game, because you can hire people to assassinate people for you. You can hire them to cause distractions, so you can get into buildings. You can do lots of different things. Characters will sort of interact in different ways as well. I mean, I mentioned previously there's things like there's 2 different gangs in the game. You can play as either one, but if members of those gangs encounter each other just by accident throughout the level, they will attack each other.
Yeah.
So if you've got members of one of them following you and they spot another member of the gang, they're going to go off and start getting in a fight. There's lots of little things like that, like the firefighter that's been introduced, and some of the later levels there are fire stations, and if you do cause a massive fire, they're going to come running, try and put out the fire. Usually, certainly in some of the games I've ended up attacking them quite vigorously.
What does a firefighter drop?
Usually an axe, or I think they do. There is a fire extinguisher you can get. They do have fire extinguishers. One of the weird things is it's a skill to, which I can understand why it is, but it's a skill you can unlock when you upgrade. That lets you basically when somebody dies, they drop an item that they might necessarily sell. Most of the time, they'll probably just drop money or food or something like that. If you get this thing like merchants, like it can be quite useful. Like if you kill a thief, they might drop one of these wall bypasser things, which are quite hard to come by if you're not a thief. Little things like that. There's one of the main things actually that's been added since I last played is the big quest, which I think I mentioned when we've talked about this previously. That each character has a kind of a certain like thing that they're expected to do in each floor. Some of the ones that I played through, obviously the soldier that I played quite a lot, essentially there's generators on each floor and you just need to blow them up. They can get quite dangerous in later levels because some of them take out massive amounts of building space. The thief, you have to basically loot every chest or safe in the level.
Right.
The assassin's quite good. They have added people into the level that you have to assassinate. And the thing with that is, because when you're the assassin, you can use this camouflage skill that lets you basically go invisible. And when you're in that, if you attack from someone from behind, you're basically going to kill them, like straight away. And as long as nobody sort of like touches you, you don't lose that invisibility. So when you're trying to assassinate someone, they're usually in a little entourage and they're going about, and there'll be an arrow on one of them. If you can get that guy and get away, you've sorted it. If anybody spots you, you then have to assassinate them, and that can get totally out of hand. Because I've had the point where I've like got the guy and then I've run off and then like wait, suddenly I've got to like kill 9 people who all saw me do it.
Yeah. It's very reminiscent of Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah.
I just the same problem. What's the big quest for the investment banker? Do you know?
I haven't actually checked. That's that one. I will report back on that because I do want to have a run as the investment banker. I want to see. There are some other fun ones. The one thing I did want to bring up, I think, so one of the characters they kind of nerfed was the hacker. And in previous ones, the hacker came in previous build. The hacker, you had a stick of dynamite, which caused a huge explosion. I don't really know why the hacker had dynamite, but it was something quite fun. And they've taken that away. And now the big quest for the hacker is you have to use every console, which there's usually quite a lot of them, and you have to hack into it and install malware. Now the hacker basically has a special ability where they can hack into any like device, so you can actually hack directly into like security cameras and things like that, or you can hack directly into the computer in buildings and just turn off all the security or do various things. What happens now when the hacker uses their laptop ability, because there are like hacking tools that other characters can use, but specifically if you use the laptop ability, these bots start appearing on the level and they go looking around for you, and if they see you at all, they come running after you. And as far as I can tell, they only appear the first time you install malware, or it might just be when you hack in with a laptop. I'm not entirely sure, but it just makes it ridiculously hard. I don't think any of the other characters have it that difficult,
right,
when it comes to doing their sort of main quest.
I do like the whole class system. It sounds amazing. It's quite a roguey thing to have different classes that make you play the game in different ways.
There's a good variety. Some of them are really interesting, like things you can do. There's the as I mentioned, the vampire. You can sort of like you can drain people for health. In fact, that's the only way you can restore your health.
Yeah.
There's one that's like the changeling, and you're like this tiny little guy, and you can basically jump into people and use their abilities and things. It's a bit odd. But if they see you in your normal form, everybody just like is repulsed by you. They won't let you into shops or anything.
Right. Yeah, it's cool. I assume some of them are more difficult than others to play the game. So some are like challenge classes to an extent. Or...
I think so. Yeah. I mean, you can get there's the basic the slum dweller, who just starts with a bottle of whiskey, I think, and has no, like, I think has less health and general attack and everything.
Yeah.
You generally have to start off raking through bins for money.
There's always one class which just starts with virtually nothing.
Deprived.
Well, thanks for that, Euan. It was good to. I look forward to hearing more about it. And
well, I'll do that investment banker run. Hopefully, it'll be
I'm genuinely interested because
yeah.
I need to check this game out. I know I said that the last time, but I think I definitely will.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So, Pawel.
Hello.
From one multiplayer game that you played solo, you're
to
going to tell
another
us
one.
about a second.
A second multiplayer game that I have played solo, although I do hope that we'll find a moment to play at least this one cooperatively, because it seems to be quite a lot of fun. It's the 9 Parchments by Frozen Byte. Now, Frozen Byte have also made, well, they've obviously made quite a lot of games. The ones that we should bear in mind when talking about 9 Parchments is the Trine franchise. Now,
yes.
I can't remember whether we've spoken about Trine before on the podcast. If not, then I definitely should, because those are really good games. But what's similar between Trine and 9 Parchments here is specifically the art style as such. It's very all these vibrant colors, all the fairy tale like sounds and music is also present in 9 Parchments. It's a very pretty game, and very well polished as well. This is definitely what I suppose a AAA would look like if it was made for. In fact, 9 Parchments it's not just a Steam thingy. 9 Parchments can be played on, I'm just checking here, on PS4, on Xbox One, on PC and on Switch as well. Now, what it is it's an isometric view spellcasting action game, I suppose. Yeah, you could summarize it like this. You play as a student of magic, sort of expelled from an academy where there was a disaster and they've essentially lost all their spells. So even though you're forbidden to do it by whatever Gandalf dude, not Gandalf really, because this is very Harry Potter like. What's the name of the Gandalf dude in Harry Potter? Dumbledore. Anyway, moving on. A really fun spellcasting action game. Each of your wizards, and sorry, when I say each of your wizards, play it multiplayer. I've played it solo, and it sort of works to extent. You, as a player, you get to pick a wizard, and you get to pick 3 spells to take with you on an adventure. As you go through it, you will unlock more spells and also capacity to sort of carry with you more spells as such, because as you go through those levels, you move with your when you play on PC, you move with your WSAD keyboard. You cast your spells with, I think, possibly the left button, and then you blink through the level with your right button. So you can essentially, when I say blink, you can short distance teleport in the direction of your mouse. And I think you can do it twice, and then it has to sort of regenerate or refresh. The ability refreshes fairly quickly because this is a very dynamic game. Whereas your spells, each of the 3 initial spells that you carry on you has its own sort of mana bar. Some of them will also have like charges that have to regenerate, but essentially you keep, depending on how much mana you have, you keep cycling between different spells to always have something to shoot. But there is a large variety of spells. They all belong to this or that school of magic, I suppose, or in the elemental type. So you're going to get your death magic, your I don't know, frost magic, your fireballs, your whatever healing nature-y stuff. All the trappings of a fantasy setting you can think of. It's just in this game, this is a very sort of tactical design, because the enemies tend to belong to various elemental, I suppose, types. So some of them will have heightened resistances to certain schools of magic. Some of them will be completely immune to certain types of spells. And when you play solo, this can actually mean if you're not well prepared for a level and you come, I've equipped my wizard with 2 death spells and a healing spell, and then I've encountered enemies that were immune to death spells, and I just could not hurt them.
What I remember from, I think I played a bit of Trine. Was that, were you saying the game that was quite similar to, or was?
Yeah, but mostly in design. Trine was all about puzzles. It was a platformer.
Yeah.
Whereas this game is all about combat. There is a number of enemies swarming around you with various abilities and spells, and you just shoot at them. Almost all your spells will be either cast over time, so you press and hold your button, and your wizard will shoot a beam of some sort of energy, or they're area based. And this works fantastically for a game like this, because if you cast a spell, if you cast a healing spell, for example, in an area wherever your mouse cursor is, and you stand there, fair enough, you get healed. If your friends are there, they get healed. If your enemies are there, they get healed. If they are enemies that are actually, I don't know, immune to death spells, they might just be undead themselves. If an undead enemy walks onto an area affected by a healing spell, they might take damage. Combinations of how different schools of magic interact with each other there's so many of them in this game. I'm actually very impressed. Also, there is a large variety of enemies, and I mean that not only by what elemental types they represent, but also what they can do with it. Some of them will be shooting homing missiles at you. Some of them will be jumping towards you. Some of them will carry different kinds of shields on themselves. Some of them will be healing others. No level is the same as the others. And that's actually very nice in a game that's essentially all about just fighting multiple opponents coming at you. But as I said, it's a multiplayer game, and this is, I think, that's what I've not experienced yet, but from playing solo, I can see not only the potential of multiplayer in this game, but also that it would really just open up much better for a group of players, because this is a game with friendly fire definitely on. This is a game with unfriendly fire, all sorts of different iterations of friendly fire you can think of in order to heal yourselves. Sometimes you have to sacrifice other players. You actually have to shoot them in order to achieve certain things. But also, think about an enemy an enemy wizard that shoots a beam of, I don't know, frost at you. Whereas you're just trying to shoot this particular enemy with a beam of fire. Those two elements sort of negate each other. If it's just yourself versus one enemy, what you're going to see is this effect that you may have seen in some superhero films when I don't know, Iron Man shoots a laser blast against some sort of robotic entity, shooting an energy blast at it.
Still Dragon Ball.
Yeah, exactly. Those two beams sort of becoming one beam and like wrestling with each other. Yeah. Same thing here. Whereas if you cross your beam with another team member's beam, they sort of angle. Depending on the angle of two beams touching each other, the resulting bigger beam goes wherever you actually, as a team, manage to angle it. But it's much stronger. So the way all these spells interact with themselves is very impressive.
It's well known when a lot of guys get together and touch beams that they're much stronger together than they are as individuals.
I was hoping for this sort of comments. In fact, I also thought that you would comment about never crossing, what was it, photon beams or something like this. But I suppose it's been too long since Ghostbusters for this sort of comment to be cool.
What's a Ghostbuster?
What's a Ghostbuster?
Is it like a dustbuster?
Yeah. This definitely seems like the sort of game that I wouldn't want to tell other people that I played.
About beams.
I cross beams all the time.
It's like I picked my wizard, and then
Goodness me.
Which wizard did you pick?
Well, there was only two to begin with because there are only two wizards.
One of them is a woman.
Yes, well, not getting triggered by this and going on, I shall just say that as much as I don't really play multiplayer games, when I do, I have a feeling that there's hardly any actual interaction between players in most multiplayer games. If it's a cooperative game where you're both, or you and your, I suppose, teammates shoot at the same enemy, that's hardly an interaction, if you ask me. I could do it on my own.
It's
It would
camaraderie,
just
isn't
take
it?
me more time.
There are a lot of games that are like that, but to be fair, there are quite a lot of games that are not as well.
Well,
Like
exactly.
Apex.
You never played Super Monkey Ball?
No, I'm sure I've not.
That's an involving multiplayer game.
So if I'm thinking about a multiplayer game that actually has a reason to be a multiplayer rather than just
but
having other...
You just don't play those games. Like Apex Legends has just come out, but you're not going to play that.
No,
And that is exactly the
I'm
kind
sorry,
of thing you're talking about.
I've installed Apex Legends. I've looked through the classes, and I thought that some of them were cool, and I've uninstalled Apex Legends. The only advantage of multiplayer aspect of battle royale games is that you get to shoot enemies that aren't bots. I don't find it rewarding enough to play. Whereas in 9 Parchments, you have to choose your spells strategically. Your teammates have to choose their spells correctly, and then depending on what enemies you encounter, the way those spells work in synergy or cancel each other is enormous. I'm fascinated by the potential of 9 Parchments, and I that's why I forced it on Steam on you.
And then didn't play with us.
And I'm waiting until the right opportunity to play it with you.
Well, we all eagerly await that opportunity, Pawel,
Very good.
when you're not too busy playing other games. Maybe
Well,
you'll fit a space in your busy schedule to play a bit of 9 Parchments.
I'll fit you in somewhere between solo, and solo gaming. So yeah, that's 9 Parchments, and as I said, a very pretty game, very well designed game, simple in concept but very deep tactically.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
It certainly was a good cake.
Yes. I
was
think
still dreaming of cake.
dreaming of cake. Well, we'll see if we can find some more cake for you.
Yes!
Before, once we've finished recording this episode. I'm sure there's. I think I put some in the bin that I could maybe.
I will with pleasure dig through that.
Okay, so I think that's everything for this episode. It's been a short one, but good.
It's TV network length.
It is, yes. Well, of course, once we put in the commercials, it will reach the full hour.
You record your monologue separately. So.
Yes.
Well, you have to be topical.
I've got I'll do the warm-up section and a bit of my spoken word poetry as well.
Looking forward to that.
So, yeah, that's everything. We better do our internets, which is going to be a challenge. We are, you might have to help me out with this, guys. We are on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, a number of other things. We are on Twitch and Twitter, where we are once player token.
That's correct.
Yep.
We're doing well today.
I did that wrong.
Well, that's fine.
And
You said it. Somebody said it.
We're first player token on everything else. And we're on a number of other platforms as well, I'm sure, including Podnose.
The UK's leading entertainment podcast network.
There we go.
This week I'd like to highlight another of our stable mates, as I've been doing, or
Please
as
do.
I'm planning to do. Are You Movie Mad? Which is another long-running podcast on the network. 125 episodes, so they are ahead of us.
Oh, bastards.
Yeah, somebody is.
Well done.
They get together, talk about movies. Currently doing a Studio Ghibli season.
Oh, nice.
Talking about Porco Rosso
Should probably
in
listen
the
to that.
latest episode. So check out our Brothers in Arms, Are You Movie Mad, on the Podnose Network, along with us.
We talk about Kardashians
Well, evidently we don't.
and
Well.
Anthem.
Not anything of substance, anyway.
All right. Thanks for that, guys.
Which episode was that? Was that 110?
This is it. Yeah, I did just realise right at the end there that we are supposed to say which episode number
It's
it
a
is.
topsy-turvy episode.
Yeah, this is episode 110. Thanks for listening, everybody. My name's David.
I'm Euan.
I'm here for cake.
Bye.
Bye.